What if every insult, every criticism, every toxic word you've carried for years only had power because you allowed it? Think about it. How many sleepless nights have you replayed someone's cruel remark as if it were carved into stone? How many days have you dragged the weight of words that were never yours to carry, letting them poison your mood, your health, your sense of worth? You've been wounded, not by their voice, but by your permission. The anger, the sadness, the exhaustion you feel, it isn't born from their negativity. It's born from your mind agreeing to take it in, holding it, and feeding it. And this is why the pain lingers long after the moment has passed. There is an old Zen teaching: no one can harm you without your consent of the heart. These words pierce through the illusion. What they say about you reveals who they are, not who you are. Negativity is like a gift wrapped in poison. If you refuse to accept it, it stays with the giver. But the moment you open it, you make it yours. You are not weak for feeling hurt. You are human. But here's the truth. The power has never belonged to the negative people in your life. It has always belonged to you. By the end of this journey, you will see clearly why toxic words cannot pierce you unless you let them, and how reclaiming that choice frees you from their grip forever. So let's begin with the truth most people never hear. Negativity cannot enter you unless you open the door. 1. Negativity is a mirror, not a weapon. Negative words don't define you. They reveal the one who spoke them. When someone spits anger, criticism, or bitterness in your direction, they are not describing you. They are exposing themselves. Their words are a reflection of the storm they carry inside, not the truth of who you are. Yet too often we clutch those words to our chest as if they were sacred, letting them bleed into our identity. There is a Zen story about a master who was insulted viciously in front of his students. The man hurled words of hatred, hoping to see the teacher react, to strike a wound. But the master only smiled. Later, a student asked in confusion, "Master, why did you not defend yourself? Did his words not hurt you?" The master replied gently, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" The students understood. The insult, like an unaccepted gift, returned to its owner. The venom had no host, so it lost its power. That is the secret most people never learn. Negativity is not a weapon unless you pick it up. It is only energy, dark, heavy, desperate, that looks for a place to land. If you let it pass by, it evaporates. But if you catch it, cradle it, and replay it in your mind, it festers into pain. Think of the last time someone criticized you. Did their words keep echoing in your head long after they had moved on? That echo wasn't their voice anymore. It was yours. You gave the insult a home. But what if, in that moment, you recognized the truth? Their words revealed their wounds, not yours. Their anger was their suffering leaking out, not your identity. When you see negativity as a mirror, something shifts. The insult becomes evidence of their unhappiness, not proof of your inadequacy. The bitterness shows you the cage they live in, not the prison you must enter. Compassion begins to rise because you realize only a hurting heart spills hurt onto others. And here's the reflection that stings but also frees you. When you stop receiving, negativity dies. It cannot survive without your consent. It seeks a reaction, and if none comes, it collapses on itself. The person may continue to shout, but their voice grows hollow. You become untouchable, not because the world is kind, but because you no longer feed cruelty with your attention. This is not easy. Every part of you wants to defend, to retaliate, to prove your worth. But retaliation is just another form of acceptance. You've taken their darkness into your body and thrown it back, and still, you've carried the poison. True freedom is not in fighting, but in not receiving. As the Buddha taught, hatred does not cease by hatred. Hatred ceases only by love. That doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you stop letting their pain shape your inner world. You may set boundaries, walk away, or stand firm, but you do so without swallowing the venom. Because venom only works when it enters the bloodstream. Negativity only works when it enters your heart. The mirror is clear. What they project is theirs. What you accept becomes yours. And you always have the choice to let the gift return to the giver. But if it's not about them, then where does the real battle happen? Inside your mind. 2. The mind gives permission. An insult cannot pierce you until your mind repeats it. That's the cruel trick we play on ourselves. Words are just sounds, vibrations that vanish in the air. But the moment your mind picks them up, turns them over, and whispers them back to you, they become chains. Chains that can hold you for days, months, even years. Zen wisdom teaches, thoughts are like seeds. Every moment, your mind is a field. You may not control which seeds blow in, an insult, a judgment, a cruel look, but you control which ones you water. If you choose to water the seed of pain, it grows into a forest of suffering. But if you refuse, if you let it dry and wither, it cannot take root. There is a story of a disciple who was publicly humiliated. His teacher corrected him harshly in front of others, and he carried the sting for weeks. Every night, he replayed the scene. Every morning, he woke up with the same ache in his chest. One day, he approached his master and asked, "Why do your words still wound me? Why can't I let them go?" The teacher replied, "Because you are still carrying them. I left those words behind the moment they left my mouth, but you chose to hold them in your heart." That story is a mirror for us all. The insult itself lasted a moment, but the disciple's mind permitted it to stay. That is how suffering multiplies, not from what is said, but from how long we repeat it. Think about your own life. How many of the criticisms that haunt you were spoken years ago? A parent who said, "You'll never be enough." A colleague who sneered, "You're useless." A stranger who mocked you. Those people may not even remember their words, but you do. You've kept them alive by replaying them. The wound was not created by the insult itself. It was created by your agreement to repeat it. Here lies the painful truth. Your mind is the gatekeeper. Nothing enters your heart without its permission. Negativity cannot carve a scar unless you open the door, invite it in, and feed it. And yet that painful truth also carries freedom. If your mind gives permission, it can also withdraw it. You have the power to say, "These words are not mine. I return them." The Buddha once taught, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." Notice the wisdom here. It's not the enemy outside who breaks you, but the enemy inside. The one who whispers their words long after they are gone. Guard your mind and no insult can settle. Leave your mind unguarded, and even the smallest slight becomes a wound. This doesn't mean you must force yourself to never feel hurt. Feeling is natural, but the difference is in what you do next. Do you clutch the insult, replay it, give it space to grow? Or do you see it for what it is? A momentary seed, and let it pass. Because the truth is, insults cannot live on their own. They require oxygen, and that oxygen is your attention. The more you repeat them, the more they thrive. But when you refuse to repeat, when you refuse to water the seed, it dies. And in its place, you can plant something else: compassion, forgiveness, strength. So the next time someone's words sting, pause. Ask yourself, am I willing to give this insult a home in my mind, or will I let it return to the one who spoke it? That choice determines whether you suffer for a moment or for a lifetime. And if the mind is the gatekeeper, then you must ask, how do we train it to stay strong? 3. Training the inner gatekeeper. You cannot control who throws stones, but you can decide whether to pick them up. The world is full of people casting their pain outward, hoping someone else will carry it for them. Some throw insults, others drip criticism, and some wield silence like a blade. You cannot stop them from throwing, but you can stop yourself from clutching every stone until your arms bleed. Zen teaching says meditation is the art of strengthening the inner gatekeeper. Without training, your mind is like a house with doors wide open. Every insult, every negative glance, every judgment walks straight in, leaving muddy footprints all over your heart. But through practice, you begin to notice the door and you learn when to close it. Meditation isn't about escaping life. It's about sitting so still that you finally see clearly what deserves entry and what does not. There is a story of a hermit who lived on the edge of a village. Whenever he came down for supplies, people mocked him. His ragged clothes, his quiet manner, his strange devotion to silence. Yet no matter how cruel the words, he only smiled and returned to his mountain. One villager finally asked, "How do you endure their scorn without anger?" The hermit answered, "When a bird sings, do you feel insulted by its cry? These voices are no different. My heart has learned not to echo them." That is the strength of training. When the mind is steady, words fall like stones striking a mountain. Loud for a moment, but the mountain does not move. Insults lose their sharpness, not because they are kind, but because your heart is no longer fragile. A steady mind is armor without anger, protection without violence. The tragedy is that most of us fight negativity head-on. We argue back, defend, prove, shout louder. But every battle fought with anger is a battle lost because you've already accepted the poison into your bloodstream. The Zen way is different. You let the insult strike the surface, but you don't invite it inside. You let the noise touch your ears, but not your soul. This strength doesn't appear overnight. It is built in silence. Each moment of sitting, breathing, watching your thoughts come and go without clinging. This is training the gatekeeper. Each time you choose not to follow an angry thought, each time you let go of the urge to defend yourself, you add another stone to the foundation of your mountain. Slowly, your mind becomes less like a fragile hut in the wind and more like the hermit's rock, unshaken by passing storms. The Buddha himself faced countless insults and accusations. He did not spend his life trying to silence every critic. Instead, he showed his disciples that true peace is not when others stop throwing stones, but when you stop bending down to pick them up. Imagine how free you would feel if every sharp word could simply bounce off without piercing you. When the mind is trained, you stop wasting energy on battles that don't belong to you. You begin to walk lighter because you are no longer carrying other people's shadows. And those who try to harm you will find themselves frustrated because their words return to them unanswered. That is real power, not in crushing the negative person, but in refusing to permit them to shape your heart. But silence alone isn't enough. You must also learn the art of transforming energy. 4. Transforming negativity into strength. What if every attack could become your fuel? Imagine if every harsh word, every betrayal, every wave of anger directed at you didn't weaken you, but instead made you stronger. This is not a fantasy. It is the ancient teaching of transformation, turning poison into medicine, darkness into light, insult into insight. There's a story told in the life of the Buddha. One day, a man approached him with burning hatred, unleashing insult after insult, trying to provoke him. The disciples were outraged, ready to defend their teacher. But the Buddha remained calm, his face serene, his presence unshaken. When the man finally ran out of breath, the Buddha said softly, "Hatred is a fire handed to you. If you refuse to hold it, it burns only in the hands of the one who lit it." The man was stunned. In that moment, his hatred returned to him, and the Buddha transformed the energy of anger into an opportunity for compassion, not only for himself, but for the man drowning in his own bitterness. This story reveals a profound truth. Negativity is raw energy. It has no fixed shape. It can poison you if you swallow it, but if you refuse, if you look at it with the eyes of wisdom, it can become strength. Think of the last time you were criticized. Perhaps someone questioned your worth, mocked your effort, or dismissed your dreams. The immediate sting was real, but what happened afterward? Maybe you grew more patient. Maybe you clarified your purpose. Maybe you stood taller, no longer bending under the weight of needing their approval. That is transformation. The attack becomes fuel for resilience, for clarity, for deeper compassion. Zen masters often say, "The obstacle is the path." The very thing you believe is in your way may actually be the doorway to your strength. A sharp insult can cut you open, but it can also reveal your capacity to heal deeper than before. A betrayal can break your trust, but it can also sharpen your discernment, teaching you who truly belongs in your life. Transformation doesn't mean pretending negativity doesn't hurt. It means letting the pain teach instead of destroying. Just as fire can burn wood into ash or forge iron into steel, your choice determines whether negativity reduces you or refines you. A disciple once asked his Zen teacher, "How do I face those who constantly criticize me?" The master replied, "Bow to them, for they are your hidden teachers. They polish the mirror of your mind." When you face negativity, you have a choice. Curse the stone thrown at you, or use it to build the foundation of your inner strength. Negativity, when met with anger, multiplies. But when met with patience, it dissolves. When met with compassion, it transforms. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of power. Anyone can react. Few can transform. So the next time someone tries to wound you, remember you hold the alchemy of the heart. Their words are fuel. You can either burn with rage or ignite with clarity. You can either carry the poison or transmute it into medicine. And here is the most liberating part. When you no longer fear negativity, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim your freedom. 5. True freedom, living beyond permission. Freedom is not when negativity disappears. It's when it no longer controls you. Most people live waiting for the world to change, for the critics to quiet down, for the gossip to stop, for the hurtful people to finally vanish. But here is the harsh truth. Negativity will never disappear. There will always be someone with a sharp tongue, someone ready to judge, someone spilling the poison of their own pain. Waiting for them to stop is like waiting for the wind not to blow. Real freedom is when their words pass through you like wind through an open window, without resistance, without residue. Zen wisdom teaches that inner freedom is greater than any outer circumstance. A person who has mastered their mind cannot be imprisoned by others' opinions. The bars of judgment may surround them, but the heart remains vast, untouched. This freedom is not granted by society, by friends, or by the absence of critics. It is born within you, the moment you realize their words do not enter unless I let them. There is a story of a Zen master who was publicly humiliated by a rival. The rival hurled accusations, insults, and lies, trying to provoke anger, but the master remained calm, silent, even compassionate. Afterward, his students asked in astonishment, "Master, why were you not offended?" The teacher answered, "Because I no longer depend on others for who I am. Their words describe their world, not mine." That story cuts deep because it reveals the chain we all wear. We believe we are free, but every time a word of praise lifts us and a word of criticism crushes us, we are still tied. True freedom begins when you stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of others' opinions. You are no longer high when praised, no longer low when insulted. You walk steadily, rooted in your own truth. Think about it. How much of your suffering has come not from what happened, but from what others thought of it? You feared being judged. You carried shame for years, replaying words that were spoken once. You lost sleep, not because of reality, but because of the imagined whispers of others. This is the prison built of permission, the moment you gave others power to define you. But what happens when you stop giving permission? You discover a lightness you've never felt before. You speak without fear. You walk without carrying invisible burdens. You realize that the person who tried to hurt you was never your jailer. You were. And now, the keys are in your hands. This doesn't mean you ignore the world. It means you see clearly that your worth is not in their hands. Their anger, their envy, their disapproval, none of it touches the truth of who you are. A mountain doesn't crumble because a bird screams at it. The sky doesn't darken because someone throws dust into the air. Why then should your soul shrink because someone spoke unkindly? Freedom is not about silence outside. It is about silence inside. It is when the storm rages, yet your heart remains steady. When insults come, but your breath remains calm. When lies are spoken, but you walk on, unshaken. That is the freedom the Zen masters lived and taught. And when you taste even a glimpse of it, you realize this is the power you have been searching for all along. The power to live unbound, unbroken, untouchable by shadows. So what does this mean for your life right now? It means the power was never with them. It was always with you. Negative people cannot hurt you unless you let them in. Read that again and let it sink into your bones. For years, you may have believed that every insult, every cruel remark, every toxic glance had the power to scar you forever. But the truth is sharper and more liberating than you imagine. Their words only cut when your mind agrees to carry them. You have carried too many wounds that never belonged to you. Shadows of judgments, echoes of criticism, memories that replay like broken records. And yet, none of them were truly yours. You have the power right now to set them down. You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission. You don't need their silence. All you need is the courage to say, "I will no longer let your pain become my prison." Freedom does not come when the world changes. Freedom comes when you finally choose to release, and that choice begins today, with you. So I ask you, which negative word or memory have you carried too long? And will you finally lay it down? Share it below. Write it, release it, and feel the weight lift as you let go. And if this message stirred something inside you, don't keep it hidden. Like this video, share it, and subscribe. Because every time you spread this wisdom, you help someone else unlock their freedom too. May your heart be guarded, your mind clear, and your spirit free from the weight of others' shadows. You were never broken. You were never powerless. The key was always in your hands. Now use it